Well, tonight, as the victim of yesterday's Sydney stabbing attack is identified as 22-year-old psychology graduate Malvern Kurniawan, attention is turning to the potential radicalisation of his alleged attacker. The anti-radicalisation program he attended seemingly no match for a so-called salad bar of ideologies.
It's also known as the salad bar of ideologies. These vulnerable people, they're not linked into one particular ideology.
Part of that sinister salad bar today revealed.
I am absolutely sexist and I'm absolutely a misogynist.
The 14-year-old accused of stabbing a random Sydney student in the neck yesterday while dressed in head-to-toe camouflage, reportedly a fan of controversial influencer Andrew Tate.
It's disrespect that will drive a man to the most heinous of crimes. It's disrespect that starts the school shooter bullshit.
We're seeing a proliferation of many different beliefs that drive people to violence.
Experts and politicians slamming the role of social media in infecting young minds.
Social media is playing an increasing role in the radicalisation of young people.
This toxic sewer that our children are seeing on a regular basis, we have to stop it.
Police are still determining the motivation behind the stabbing.
The Joint Counter-Terrorism team are investigating.
But the teenager had been put in a de-radicalisation program over alleged plans to carry out a Christchurch-style terror attack at a Sydney school last year. He was charged, but those charges were later dropped on mental health grounds.
As I understand it, he was engaging in that program.
Those de-radicalisation efforts seemingly failing, as they did earlier this year when a WA teen from the Countering Violent Extremism program was shot dead by police after stabbing a man in the back.
Most of the time we're able to disrupt those young people, divert them into programs, ensuring that they don't move to violence.
So with de-radicalisation programs under scrutiny and social media serving up an increasingly worrying salad bar of ideology, can our kids be protected from violent extremism?
To parents, to carers, if you're a coach of a kid or if you're their teacher, if you see behaviour that changes, then say something. We cannot help if we do not know.
Peta Lowe is a youth extremism advisor to the UN and former director of Countering Violent Extremism in New South Wales Youth Justice. Peta, you sit across from kids just like this in programs just like this one. How does it work?
Yeah, I guess the approach is not so much de-radicalisation as disengagement from engaging in violent behaviours. It really is around identifying what are the risks and needs for that particular individual and then working out what sorts of supports can be put in place, what interventions maybe. So it may not be one-on-one sitting down with someone talking about the way they think and feel. It might be engagement in sporting activities or other sorts of activities that they like and enjoy that can build social networks. It might be supporting them in employment or education. It might be supporting the family to put boundaries in place in the household around the use of devices and social media and internet.
I mean, I guess we don't hear of the success stories. Are there many? Do you think it's working in general?
Yeah, I think generally what we do have is success in the way that we engage people back into society. I think these programs overall have success because we don't hear about the large numbers of people who go through them. We only hear about those people for whom they get involved in the program and then for some reason their risk increases again.
Let's come to this particular case. Salad bars of ideology, this is a new phrase, I hadn't come across this. I think I get what it means though, this sort of not one single ideology that you can kind of pin down. Does someone with that sort of situation, is that harder to deal with than someone with a particular ideology you can target?
I guess it depends on what you mean when you say harder to deal with. It's definitely harder for the law to deal with. It's harder for our legislation to grapple with. The term itself is pretty unhelpful, I think, in the space because what it seems to indicate is that it's less harmful, less serious, something that we don't really need to consider. I think if anyone has an ideology, and most ideologies are made up of tenets of a whole bunch of different themes, if anyone has an ideology that promotes and justifies the use of violence, then that's what we really should be concerned about. It's a little more difficult to deal with than some of the ideologies perhaps that people subscribe to wholly, but I think that's the space we find ourselves in now. People are very much finding different tenets of ideologies across the spectrum of extremism.
How do we then, I guess, make our kids less vulnerable to this violent extremism? Is there anything we can do to protect them?
Yeah, we talk to them about it. It's one of those things that we need to be having conversations with children and young people about. It's not something that only a few people are being exposed to if they go looking. There is violent extremist content on almost every social media platform, mainstream, that you can find. And young people are being exposed to it. In fact, the majority of young people I speak to will tell me that they've seen extremist material in one platform or another. We know extremists are using children's platforms like Roblox to start to develop ideologies around extremist material. And so, much like anything else, if there's a risk to children and young people, we need to be talking to them about it. Age-appropriate conversations about the kinds of material that they're accessing and how that material is impacting on them is something every parent, caregiver, family member should be engaging in.
Peta, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.